Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Crazy results in the VCT last night, and one of the regions already has a bracket locked in for their playoffs. Big results in the Americas, especially with Yay putting out the chamber last night on Evil Genius, as it felt for one map like 2022 all over again, before reality then struck with G2 Esports as they look to make their run into the rest of the season. Lots of drama as well on what EG should do, what's going wrong with that team, what changes they may well need to make. Very much on Twitter, your thoughts and comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Now, this was a rather remarkable start to yesterday, and we're going to get into it just after this quick drama. So, game changes, we know, has always got drama from time to time, and this player, Majamia, well, anyway, she was making quite a few tweets, and some of them have been deleted, as you guys can see here. One of which went as follows, and clearly she was frustrated with a defeat, I imagine, and she says there is at least one man in every team. Most of them have 2 to 3 men. I'm going to form a GC team with 5 guys and I'm going to dominate, and then went on to say, we lost O2 and were eliminated. It wasn't easy to play against men. There's nothing to do, heart emoji. So you can imagine what the response to this was. They banned her from the league, obviously. And, well, it's interesting because Riot Games, the league that they were competing in is the Equal Esports Queens League. And I don't know if Riot, I'm not exactly sure what the rulebook says on, obviously, comments like that. I'm sure that Riot, if they needed to get involved, would have done exactly that. But, yeah, this league made an announcement yesterday, Majami a disqualification. We're aware of these comments made following a Game Changers match, and they do not directly involve our league structure. They're clearly incompatible with the values we uphold. As a league dedicated to creating and maintaining safe spaces for women through initiatives such as Equal Esports Queens, we take this matter extremely seriously. And basically, as they go on to say, with immediate effect, the player is excluded from all Project 5 and Equal Esports Queens tournaments for 1 year. So wow, 1 year ban coming through hot. So anyway, big Twitter crash out, Game Changers disqualification. It's just another day in the office. Now, let's talk about the matches in the, well, around the world, really, because it was actually crazy. I don't understand ZETA Division. I don't understand why Paper X will always just, in the middle of the stage, lose a match. Usually it's to someone like Team Secret, but they just did it to ZETA. And it's so frustrating, right? Like, I'm actually so frustrated because I like this ZETA team. I think this ZETA team has a lot of fans. I really want to see it succeed for the sake of the Japanese scene. They looked okay in the past, but unfortunately this year for them has just been, you know, a bit of a nightmare, right? Like, it's not been good, again, but when it no longer matters, when they're so far out of the race for the World Championship and obviously championship points and all that. And I'm 99% sure that they simply cannot even qualify anymore for it, even if they won every match that they play from now on, because I think it's impossible for them to get to the playoffs, unfortunately. As soon as that happens, as soon as there is nothing to play for, ZETA just go God mode and they take down Paper X. So they beat them 39 on Lotus. You know, and then they turn up to Sunset on Paper X's pick, and they just smash them 9-3 on the attacking side and take the defense as well. So, as FNS says, my first time ever watching this team, I can't believe they were 0-3 before that godlike performance, right? So they delivered an absolute masterclass. But as you guys can see here, they're now 1-3 in their group. And even if they win their final game, so their final game is against Boom Esports, which they should win, they would get to 2-3. The problem is that there's 3 teams with 3 wins, and if T1 were to lose, let's say, so T1 play DFM, let's say they were to lose to DFM and T1 go to 2-3, the problem is that T1 still have the head-to-head tiebreaker over ZETA because they 2-0'd them last week. So, unfortunately for ZETA, it is just cooked. As good as they looked in that series, so unfortunately for them, it is a case of we'll see you next year. But yeah, I guess that at least they ended the season, maybe, in a way they would like to continue. Speaking of DFM, by the way, this I thought was pretty cool for me, who actually put out here some of the numbers on VLR so far this split. As he says, rating, number 1. ACS, number 1. KD, number 1. ADR, number 1. Kills per round, number 1. So, you know, he's making a statement, right? And fair play. Why wouldn't he? He's absolutely cooking it of late. Can DFM deliver the goods? Look, they're at 3-1. If there is going to be something from the Japanese region, maybe they can take some inspiration from the fact that ZETA just beat Paper X, because DFM's game, as we know, is against T1. But even then, they're going to be at the playoffs, and DFM in the playoffs, who knows? Maybe they can make a bit of a run. Group A has been looking a little bit sketchy, it's got to be said, as of late. and the next games in that region happen in a few days' time. Let's talk about China, though, because, look, it's happened again. Edward Gaming, they continue domestically to not be the force that they once were. They played Bilibili Gaming, and it was a Bilibili 2-0. Hoozy with a 51-31 masterclass here. Again, they are sticking with that team. No Alphabet Man, it's Gen.G back in the team, and it's 13-6 on the Lotus, and then 15-13 on the Sunset and Edwards pick. They had a great start. I mean, it was an 8-4 half. Then it went to an overtime that BLG eventually won. Hoozy had 30 frags on the Neon. Kankang had 31. So those two were going at it during the game. But in the end, not enough for Edward Gaming. They go down. Will they still be fine? Yeah, but this was a battle for the number 1 seed. It would have been quite nice to win this. We know, though, that as the other results transpired, Wolves, Nova, JDG, Titan Esports, they were out, and the playoffs bracket for the Chinese region has therefore been locked in. So, Edward will play DRG in the first round, then the winner of that will play XLG in the upper semi-finals. Of course, if you make it top 2 in this, then you guarantee your spot of the World Championship. All gamers Tai Lu, Bilibili Gaming, and then Trace Esports and FPX, they did make it, but of course as the 4th seed, they will start down in a lower bracket with a real task on their hands. So, Edward still find themselves in an okay spot, but who's going to qualify from the Chinese region is a good question, because as we know, the point standings are pretty intense, right? Edward are at 13, XLG are at 13, Bilibili are at 12, Wolves at 10. As we said, there's still a decent chance that Wolves make it if the grand finals of this bracket ends up being Edward or XLG against Bilibili Gaming, which is very plausible, isn't it, really? Like, those do look like the strongest teams. So there is still a world where Wolves make it to the World Championship. But, Sufat did come out with a tweet. I'm so sorry we missed the playoffs. Our performance, discipline, tactics and form are very different. As captain as IGL, I did not lead the team to victory. I shed so many tears. We destroyed our own advantage. We can only qualify based on championship points. If we're surpassed, we won't be able to go. I miss you all so much. Failure is necessary on the road to success. Wait for me, I'll be back. So, kind of nice. I actually think, looking at the bracket, there's a pretty good chance they make it anyway. But the Chinese region is all to play for, as we know. Let's talk about the Americas, though, because this is pretty crazy yesterday. We know that the Americas has not been especially competitive this year. There are 2 teams, really, that have dominated, G2 and Sentinels, and that does not look set to change. They're already guaranteed to go to the World Championship more than any other team is out in the world of Valorant right now. Loud played Crew. This is actually the second game of the day. And yeah, Robbie BK was trying his best here. FNS, of course, was watching all this unfold on the game 2 that Loud did eventually win here on the bind and take down Crew. But unfortunately for Loud and for the Brazilian scene, I guess, in general, really, okay, Robbie BK is not Brazilian. He finds himself in a nice 1 versus 2, gets the first, gets the second to put them on the verge of taking it down. But they lose anyway, right? So Crew, we know that Crew at the end of the season are going to be a bit of a force. But yeah, it was a tough one for Pancada, especially when -15 in the end. Crew Sports make a bit of a run. As we say, the Haven was a 13-7. The bind they won back the other way, but then the Ascent 13-4. Crew Sports just knocked them out. Pancada has 1 frag on the Omen on the final map of the series. Kesnid and Mazzino with 34 between them. So yeah, not what Loud fans would have wanted to see. Just been such a disaster, really, of a season given where they were not that long ago. And on the other side of the Americas, we had Evil Geniuses in action with, as we know, the recent changes to Chamber. Now, you guys know my opinion on Chamber. I kind of miss the Chamber days. And also, I remember, I feel like he is more viable, and he has been more viable for some time than his pick rate would suggest. That's just my opinion. You guys may disagree. But Ye pulled him out yesterday, and we actually saw a bit of a masterclass from Ye on the Chamber on Corrode. And this was, we were turning it back. The clock was being turned back here in many respects. Here was Ye with the tour de force, taking down Baby Bay, who was also on the Chamber. And yeah, Ye delivered a real masterclass here on the game 1. G2 go down to Evil Geniuses in the first map of the match, but it was not enough in the end for EG to get over the line. And pretty controversial, really, the way that this match concluded. And this is, to be fair, one of the big moments, really, on the Evil Geniuses side. Baby Bay came back into this G2 team, or just came back into professional Valorant in general. Obviously a talented player. He did great things when he was competing, certainly on the duelist role at the time. But this is not a gunfight that you should be losing. Okay, Baby Bay deserves the credit here for spinning on Icy and hitting him with one of those. But nonetheless, a pretty insane play from Baby Bay, and he ran the Chamber again to great success. So cool to see Chamber maybe finding its way back into the meta here. But this was on the deciding map of the series, and this was Icy getting absolutely spun on by a man who was on the analyst desk not that long ago. And the way this series concluded does raise big questions about EG, and maybe about Potter as well, the way that they were approaching things, because, you know, it doesn't feel that long ago that Evil Geniuses and Potter were right at the top of Valorant, but obviously it's been a very different story as of late. And as the series winds down, as Derek says, 1-2 versus G2, embarrassing from us. And I think there was another comment here from Baby Bay who said, yeah, fake comeback into a clean haven and Ascent, one of the most fun series I've played. Yeah, he's still a demon on the Chamber, nothing has changed there. But you know, what do EG need to do next year? Because G2, they're only getting better, I think, with Baby Bay. They get over the line here. As we know, he ran on the Ascent. He was on the Chamber as well to great effect. Game 1, he did not have a great time on the Chamber, but Ye did. 29 and 18 from Ye on the first map here. But the last two maps of the series, the 13-4 on Haven on EG's pick, you know, it was I mean, look, Nature had the breach on, which is definitely, you know, one of the decisions. And it's not like he played badly, but, I mean, Icy had 3 frags here. And then the Ascent was 13-4 again. And this time it was the Baby Bay with a crushing one. And, look, it's interesting, isn't it, right? On the Ascent, we're seeing some meta developments, right? I mean, look what G2 are up to here, right? They've got the Omen, which, okay, is pretty standard. Then they're running Vise, Yoru, Sova, and Chamber. That's their Ascent composition. Whereas EG have again gone for the much more, you know, what year are we in, right? Like, we're running KO, Jet, Sova, Cypher, and Omen. Not to say that it couldn't work, but, you know, obviously that can be considered default, but maybe not going to work on this level, right? And again, you look at the overall scoreboard, and the names are drawn to probably one man in Icy here, who on the Cypher and on the Neon was 18 in 47 for a -29. And yes, Superman had a rough time as well, for sure. And Ye was on the Jet and the Chamber, which was kind of fun to see. But just a rough one for Icy, and I think big questions on what that team needs to do, because at the end of the day, G2, they're still great, but they still have a substitute right now. And this was maybe a chance for Evil Geniuses to beat them. And now they find themselves on the verge of not making it to the playoffs. They might well get outdone by 2G. Because, well, 2G have Cloud9 and Sentinel still to play. And yeah, EG did beat 2G, so that's big. And Furia, they probably don't have to worry too much about. But it is a concern for where Evil Geniuses currently sit. But that's what's been happening in the Americas. Big games as well to come over the coming days. But that pretty much concluded the weekend of action. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.